Good evening, everyone. My name is Matthew Woodruff. I'm an assistant professor here at Emory University. I'm a co-host of the podcast Audio Immunity, coming to you tonight on Friday, February 14th. And it has been a week since I started recording these YouTube videos, and a lot has happened in the last week. So I thought I would do a quick recap and then move into something a little more important this evening. So, about a week ago, I told you that the NIH was resurrecting a policy that the first Trump administration had decided to implement way back in 2017. I won't go into the details of that, but essentially it decided that it was going to greatly cap the number of dollars that were going to flow back to universities as a part of research grants for researchers that do the work like we do in my lab. That cap at 15% was going to cause a massive financial hole in essentially every major research institution across the country. Here at Emory, we were looking at losing $140 million annually, which not only would disrupt the research component of Emory University, but also the healthcare component, which supports Atlanta and the larger Southeast, really. And also things that you think about when you think about universities, like schools of engineering, the School of Theology connected to Emory. These things are all connected. And so the university stood to take a catastrophic hit. Now, back when that policy was conceived in 2017, Congress realized that it probably was not going to be a good thing if that policy was enacted. So, as a part of an appropriations bill in 2018, they essentially insisted that if the federal government decided to change the way that these reimbursements were given out, they needed to go through proper procedure. Proper procedure was not followed here. Really, no procedure was followed here. And so 22 states filed a lawsuit essentially saying you can't unilaterally change the amount of money that you're handing to these universities on no notice and with no cause. Federal judge agreed, and so early in the week issued a stay on that executive order. So, as far as I know, money has continued to change hands, although it's not always clear that these orders are going to be followed faithfully. When that happened, we were in the midst of voting on a Secretary of Health and Human Services. So this is, of course, RFK Jr. And for those of you that do not know, Health and Human Services is the umbrella department that holds the National Institute of Health, the National Science Foundation, the CDC, Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, right? All of the major federally run healthcare related things that you know about in the United States government. So there's a lot of stuff that sort of falls under that umbrella, of which the NIH is one. So about the time that people were realizing that this policy was probably not a good one, that included several Republican senators, including senators from Alabama and Maine, who realized that probably capping all of this money wasn't going to turn out well for their local economies. They all have universities that very much benefit their state for any number of reasons, healthcare being among the top of them, but there's too many to count, really. Um, and they voiced their concern. Susan Collins, in particular, voiced her concern to RFK Jr. and said, essentially, maybe this isn't a policy that we should go through with. RFK Jr. used that as leverage and said, yeah, no, that sounds like it might have been a little bit too blunt, and it's something that we could certainly reconsider if you vote for me. So she did. And now, in sort of a bizarro world, RFK Jr. has become Health and Human Services, having been voted for by every Republican in the Senate except for Mitch McConnell, which I assume just means he feels bad at this point. But it's interesting because this is a gentleman who has previously openly questioned the efficacy of vaccines. Now, or safety, I suppose, and efficacy. He has promised us, the American people, that he will follow the science on vaccines. So we can only hope that he follows that back to the FDA that was run by his uncle that approved the first measles vaccine and essentially dropped measles incidence in the United States from 400,000 incidences per year down to the usually less than 100 cases, although it looks like we're finding some traction in Texas in unvaccinated populations. So hold on to your measles hats. But I told you that we were going to move that to the side here tonight, and I'm going to do that because one of the things that has really bothered me, I think, since the beginning of the administration is, I have friends and people that I know and love that have that made a different decision than I did going into this past election. Um, and I just disagree, but I usually can try to empathize, I suppose. But one of the sentiments that has come out of that is a lack of understanding from some of those folks how these differences in opinion can drive friendships apart and drive families apart. And the thing that frustrates me about this is I think when people talk about politics being different, um, we forget that politics often involves real people, their real lives. And today was just a really ugly today was an ugly day that really represented how these decisions impact people. So I'm under no illusion that the audience that I'm talking to right now is largely in the Decatur, Georgia area. I'm an Emory faculty member. Um, Largely, these videos get passed around because my wife is active in some social circles that people watch, right? In Decatur, Georgia, we have a lot of folks that work at the CDC, and we have a lot of folks that work here at Emory. We are close by. And today, all reports are that at the CDC, a significant number of people were essentially gathered up into a room and fired. These are civil servants that are literally doing their job day in, day out, trying to stay on top of public health, drive public policy, and generally do good. And a lot of them were let go today. There's a lot of pain out there right now. A lot of folks that are sending resumes around Emory. Um, so, hearing from colleagues about people sort of panicking, trying to find their way back into the workforce after being summarily dismissed, seemingly for no reason. So I'll say this. If you believe the country is better off, safer tonight than it was yesterday, because these folks are no longer working at the CDC, you simply don't know what you're talking about. I think we have a responsibility as a community to support each other. I think that right now, a lot of us in and around the Emory CDC area know people that have been affected. And I think it's a good night to take a deep breath, take an opportunity to look around and find ways to reach out to folks and support them in a time of need. I'm trying to find ways to do that, talking to you all, loading these videos up. Who knows how long people listen to me, but this is one way that I'm trying to be a part of that conversation. There are other ways that you may hear of in the future. Um, but take an opportunity to look around and realize that there are people whose livelihoods are being destroyed by these decisions, and find a way in yourself to figure out how it is you want to be a part of this, how it is you want to use your voice in all of this. Because I'm sad to say that I do not think that this is the most impactful day that we'll have over the next 4 years. I There's a lot being targeted at our community right now. Um, so be ready for it. Support each other when you can. And I will try to continue to talk to you about science or whatever whenever something comes up. But for tonight, reach out to a neighbor and be kind to each other. So thank you very much, y'all. Take care.